appunto i Veroni, i Mancini, che sono i giocatori che devono dargli invincibili. Tocca a Marcelo Salas, quindi niente da fare.
When people talk about the greatest defenders of all time, certain names always dominate the conversation. But there is one name that is often spoken in a different tone. Not because he was the loudest, not because he was the most aggressive, but because he was the most elegant. Alessandro Nesta was not just a centre-back. He was the art of defending in its purest form. Born in Rome on March 19, 1976, Nesta grew up in a city where football is more than a sport, its identity. From an early age, he was quiet, composed, and intensely focused. He wasn't the kid screaming for attention. He was the one studying the game. At Lazio's academy, coaches quickly realized they were witnessing something rare. It wasn't just his tackling ability or physical strength. It was his anticipation. Nesta seemed to know where the ball would go before anyone else did. He made his senior debut for Lazio as a teenager, and it didn't take long for Italian football to recognize that a generational defender had arrived. In the 1990s, Serie A was the toughest league in the world. It was home to ruthless strikers, tactical battles, and unforgiving competition. Yet Nesta, with his slim build and graceful movement, stood tall among giants. At Lazio, he became captain, a role that symbolized trust and leadership, but Nesta didn't lead by shouting. He led by example. The 1999 to 2000 season became one of the most historic campaigns in Lazio's history. They won the Serie A title, breaking through against dominant rivals. At the heart of that triumph was Nesta. He was the defensive anchor. Calm under pressure, precise in positioning, and clean in distribution. Lazio also captured the Coppa Italia and competed fiercely in Europe. But financial troubles forced the club into painful decisions. In 2002, Lazio had to sell their captain. It was emotional. It was inevitable. And his next destination would shape the rest of his legacy, AC Milan. At Milan, Nesta c'è Paolo Maldini, Cafu, Andrea Pirlo, Clarence Seedorf, Andriy Shevchenko. It was a team built to conquer Europe. And Nesta immediately fit in not as a supporting character, but as a pillar. His partnership with Maldini became one of the greatest defensive duos football has ever seen. Experience combined with intelligence. Leadership combined with composure. The 2002 to 2003 season delivered European glory. Milan won the UEFA Champions League after defeating Juventus in the final. In high-pressure matches, Nesta performed like a professor of defending. He didn't rely on reckless sliding tackles. He rarely needed last-ditch heroics. His positioning was so perfect that danger often disappeared before it fully developed. In 2007, Milan lifted the Champions League trophy again. Once more, Nesta stood firm at the center of their defense. In the final against Liverpool, Milan showed discipline and structure. It was another example of consistency at the highest level. 2 Champions League titles in 5 years. Very few defenders can claim such achievements. But Nesta's career was not without adversity. Injuries became his greatest enemy. Knee problems and muscle setbacks threatened to derail his prime. Critics questioned whether he could maintain his elite level. Yet every time doubt surfaced, Nesta answered on the pitch. Not with words, but with clean sheets. With the Italian national team, his journey carried both pride and frustration. He represented Italy in major tournaments, forming part of a golden defensive generation. The emotional peak came during the 2006 World Cup in Germany. Ironically, when Italy went on to lift the trophy, Nesta had been sidelined due to injury after the group stage. Though he did not feature in the knockout rounds, he remained part of the championship squad. Italy defeated France in a dramatic penalty shootout in the final, claiming their fourth World Cup. Nesta's playing style was often described as intelligent defending. He rarely accumulated excessive yellow cards, which was remarkable in a league as intense as Serie A that discipline came from anticipation. He read strikers' movements, predicted passing lanes, and closed space before it became dangerous. Many legendary forwards faced Nesta, from Ronaldo Nazario to Thierry Henry, and several admitted that playing against him was more of a mental battle than a physical one. He frustrated attackers. He made them hesitate. He forced them into mistakes. At Milan, beyond European triumphs, he also secured the Serie A title and domestic trophies. He became a symbol of Milan's golden era in the early 2000s. Whenever Milan played, there was a sense of security in defense. And that security had a name: Nesta. In 2012, after a decade in Milan, he chose a new challenge in Major League Soccer with Montreal Impact. Even at an advanced stage of his career, his class was undeniable. Different tempo, but the same intelligence. The same elegance. Eventually, he retired as one of the most respected defenders in football history. Not controversial, not flashy, just consistently world-class. Many analysts consider him one of the most underrated defenders of all time, perhaps because he never chased headlines. He let his performances speak for him. Nesta's legacy is not only measured in trophies, it is measured in standards. He proved that defending does not have to be brutal. It does not have to be chaotic. Defending can be graceful. Defending can be beautiful. In modern football, where centre-backs are expected to build play from the back and remain composed under pressure, Nesta was already ahead of his time. He was the prototype of the modern defender long before the term became fashionable for Lazio fans. He remains their proud captain. For Milan supporters, he is a legend of San Siro. For Italy, he is part of a golden generation that conquered the world. And for football itself, Alessandro Nesta is a reminder that intelligence will always triumph over sheer force. When we sit at the table of all-time great defenders, Nesta deserves a seat without question, because he was not simply a centre-back. He was a master of timing, positioning, and anticipation. Football often glorifies goal scorers, but without players like Alessandro Nesta, history would feel incomplete. He was the silent wall, the shadow that followed every striker, the defender who never needed to shout to command respect. Alessandro Nesta proved one timeless truth: defending is an art, and he was one of its finest artists.